My name is Ken Adam, and I was the production designer on Thunderball. What you're seeing now is some location scouting footage I took at a place called Chateau d'Annay in France, which we were going to use for, I think, the pre-credit title sequence. A very beautiful castle. And now we are location scouting in the Bahamas, and that's Harry Saltzman there. And I think it's the back of Terence Young, and there is Ted Moore and Gus Auguste. Ted Moore was a cameraman. Gus Auguste was the first assistant, and David Middlemass, who was the production manager. And here we've got Ted Moore balancing on the retaining wall. And if I remember right, it looked like a submarine pen. Dick Maybaum, you know, was the most relaxed character. And Dick was always took part. He was very much part of the unit. Also, I think, helped him to come up with new scenes and create them, because he was so much part of us, you know. These are shots of actual sharks which we placed into one of the swimming pools of an American couple who had an incredible villa in the Bahamas. And those sharks were caught by the Miami Seaquarium in one night outside, where Sean, myself, and Letizia, and some of the artists were staying. We had to keep the sharks alive in Mr. Sullivan's pool. In fact, the only way we could do it was to have the Ivan Tors underwater experts hold on to the fin of the sharks and swim around with them to keep them alive. But the stench, the smell was awful, and also it was quite dangerous in a way, because I remember the Sullivans used to have their several gin and tonics at night time, and I was worried that if somebody fell into the pool, you know, who was responsible? Now I went to God knows where, it was on the East Coast, to film one of the first American hydrofoils called the Denison, which traveled at about 60 knots on the Atlantic and was powered by aircraft jet engines. And I thought I might use it for the Disco Volante, but it was too experimental, too noisy, and I then decided against it, but I filmed it going out to sea and then was on it myself. This was a catamaran I found in Nassau Harbor, because we had an idea of having one of the speedboats disappear under the catamaran, and it had to be the right size. So I was very fortunate, and I think, I'm not sure now, but I think we used it in the sequence. And this, we're coming to, I decided that it would be better to build part of the Vulcan bomber full size in the Bahamas. And so we built actually a replica. You see the nose section and undercarriage in fiberglass with my construction team, which I brought over from England at Pinewood, on a barge outside Paradise Island. And here you find the catamaran section of the Disco Volante, which I had designed. And I think here you find the first time the two sections are joined together. So it was a very exciting moment for me that will it all work? And fortunately, as so often with the more complicated design, it worked all right. And here I filmed the hydrofoil, which Harry Saltzman and I had bought in Puerto Rico for, I think, $10,000. This was the camera unit on a speedboat. I think the design challenges in Nassau were more ships. I mean, the Disco Volante, the underwater, for the first time, I had to use bottles and swim underwater. There's Adolfo Celli, who was the chief villain. This was in between takes, obviously. Sean loved to clown for me, and I sneaked those shots of Sean and Claudine Auger, which were shot while the main unit was shooting at Coral Harbor. There's Terence Young discussing with Claudine. There's a camera unit. The location shooting of Thunderball was a lot of fun. And because it's a certain atmosphere that was created, and I must say Terence was great at creating the right sort of atmosphere. He was very friendly with Sean, and Sean was extremely relaxed, and he was at his most relaxed when Terence directed him. I credit Terence with really creating Sean as Bond. It was quite easy for Terence to teach Sean all the things that he felt James Bond ought to be. And they had a great relationship, and that reflected on the whole crew, you know. Gus Augusti was one of the most experienced first directors and very popular. David Middleman, the production manager, was liked by everybody. I had a very good art department crew out there and construction department from Pinewood. Cubby was at its most relaxed. This shown in foreground with Claudine, shot at Love Beach, where in fact we were all living off, we had 4 bungalows nearby. And this must be, that's Gus Augusti on Paradise Beach. These were 2 pontoons which we had to build to shoot the sequence of the Disco Volante. And in the background here is a wonderful schooner called the Black Pearl, which belonged to an American called Buzzy Warburton, who unfortunately is no longer with us, who was also a member of, or Commodore of the Rhode Island Newport Yacht Club, and he was very keen to get his yacht into frame. And these are people, I think, having a swim or trying to organize something with the camera pontoons. And I was quite nervous at the time because it was filming the Disco Volante, and I was hoping that everything would work all right. There was Luciana Paoluzzi, that's Dinah Hartford, who's dancing with Sean, and that's the main camera unit filming it, and there's Dinah Hartford leaving the set. Yes, I had to, you know, create the atmosphere, which was really more like doing, I think, a false ceiling with all these Chinese lanterns hanging from it. And here we are back now on the Disco Volante with the first unit shooting from these pontoons. And now we come to my aerial scout, and that's the Sullivan Villa. On the right you see the seawater pool, and in the center you see the actual swimming pool. And after scouting the whole of Nassau, of the Bahamas, of Nassau, by air, I found this villa. Oh yeah, now this is Letizia, my wife. This is Luciana Paoluzzi and her mother on Love Beach, where we were all staying. We knew Anita Ekberg, who was staying in one of the bungalows, Letizia and Fogart, and my brother, late brother Peter, who was 7 years older, who visited me in the Bahamas. And Letizia, my wife, who was Italian, and Anita were great friends. And so she spent a lot of time in her spare time, because we were all, I mean, we were having fun. And we were all water people. I mean, Cubby liked boats, Peter Merton, my art director, loved boats, I loved boats, Peter Lamont loved boats. So we spent more time in the water and didn't go to bed until the early hours of the morning. And it was one of those things that I learned from a famous American director who taught me a great deal much earlier, Bob Aldrich, who said, you've got to be professional on films, but you also have to have laughs. And on Thunderfall, we had a lot of laughs.